the minutes in the chat, so we'll call this meeting to order. Minutes are in the chat. I also have it up on my screen for you guys to peruse. And we'll come back together in just a minute. We will introduce one of our newest members to the DLT as well in just a moment. So we can all just start taking a look at our minutes from last month's session, and we can begin. Okay, folks, do we have consensus on the minutes? Are there any reasons to make any adjustments? Eden, thank you. Rob, thank you. Else will be good. Monique, Lamar, Eduardo, let's give a virtual thumbs up. Or just something in the chat. Okay, thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Monique. Okay. All right, folks, we are going to get started. Welcome to our April meeting. Hard to believe we are already in second week of April in the stretch run time for our schools. And then believe it or not, we're going to be talking about next year's goals today and how we want to structure them. Did bring this to our CEC meeting just a week ago, less than a week ago, just to talk a little bit about where we're at with goal setting. So we're going to be doing a little bit of that today, along with some resources that are available from the central team in terms of supporting our schools with their own CEP development. So we're going to get started and going right away. Let me share my screen again. And before we do that, actually, we do have to introduce a new member of the team and to thank Mr. Mitchell who was our former DPAC, sitting as former DPAC president. Mr. Mitchell has since moved on from that position, and Catherine St. Pierre has been so gracious in assuming this role in Mr. Mitchell's absence. So, Catherine, thank you so much for being here. Catherine's also a member of our CEC, and is kind enough to assume this role too. We're keeping Catherine very, very busy here in the district, and appreciate her time. I know you guys that are part of CEC and DLT and everything part of your schools. It's not easy to juggle all of these things. So we thank you for being here, and welcome to the team. So if we can do just a quick little round, just so Catherine knows who everyone is that's part of the DLT, that would be great. So she knows everyone's role on here. Eden, I'm pretty sure she knows who you are, but if you want to just start off with your role, and then I'll give a quick round so that Catherine knows who she's going to be working with today.
That's why I figured I'd come off mute first. Catherine, I sit on the DLT because of being in the CEC president seat. So.
Thank you, Eden. Mr. Marino.
Hi, Catherine. Welcome. I am Rob Marino, Principal PS 120. I'm representing CSA on the DLT.
Thank you, Rob. Gus.
Welcome, Catherine. I'm Gus Hadjidemetriou. I am part of Central DOE, Director of Federal and State Education Implementation Policy.
Thank you, Gus. Eduardo.
Welcome, Catherine. My name is Eduardo Duarte. I represent Queens North High Schools.
Thanks, Eduardo. Lamar? Oh, I see you're in the car. Take it easy with that, Lamar. You can give just a wave if you want.
I'm going. Hi, Catherine. Good morning. I'm Lamar Hughes. I represent the UFT. I'm the UFT rep for District 25, and I'm also based out of PS 201. Welcome aboard.
Awesome. Thanks, Lamar. And Monique.
Hi, I am too in the car, so sorry about that. Just arrived at my destination. I'm Monique Liscano, and I'm the DC 37 rep for the district.
Thank you, Monique. And we have several of our team members on here, Catherine, also that just sit in as observers. We have Jenny from our team is here, Tracy from our team, Greg, Beverly, Janet, Lewis, and I think I got everyone, and Mr. Sarin as well, all here just as observers too. So, having gone through that quick little intro, we will get into the meeting, talk a little bit about updates and reminders, focus on our L's, ELA sprints, and then planning for 2025-26, the goals that we have in mind. And, hopefully you guys can linger over them a little bit and give some feedback around where we want to go next. We've talked about this at the CEC. We've talked about it a little bit with our principals and starting to engage them in this process as they will begin organizing their own goals within the next couple of months. And, really, really important that we linger over some of the data that I'm going to share with you today and what your thoughts are about it. Okay. So just a couple of notes. National Assistant Principals Week is this week. Big shout out to our D25 assistant principals for the work that they do on a daily basis for our students. Happy Administrative Professionals Day is April 23rd. We keep it in here just as a note for all of you so that we extend those thanks when time comes. I always say this, that I am the worst with these types of days. So I'm so happy I have team members that make sure that I remember. Otherwise, I get mixed up in the daily grind and you forget to do those celebrations, and it's important that we do. Passover coming up. Happy Passover for all of our district community that celebrate the Passover holiday, as well as Easter coming up in just the next week. Oh my goodness, it's already here. We're at Passover and Easter. It's coming real soon. So big shout out to all of our community members that celebrate either of these holidays. Earth Day coming up April 22nd. Important that we continue to recognize the importance of keeping our Earth good and safe for all of our kids and future children thereafter. Important that we recognize the importance of that as community members. Upcoming events, these that we kind of shout out every time that we have an opportunity. We have our virtual math series, final one, which is around implementing shared curriculum. So Beth from our team will be talking a little bit around the new curriculum that we will be adopting next year, which is the Amplified Math program. This is something that we'll talk a little bit more about as the next, as ordering starts beginning for next year, and what it means for our middle schools and our elementary schools. So we'll talk more about that during our next month's DLT, but just giving you guys a little point of reference that May 28th will be the session when we start talking about that a little bit more in depth with our parents so that they know what that means for us moving forward. iReady session, June 17th, will be the end year for iReady so that our families know what's going on with the end year diagnostics, and June 4th and June 11th for Acadians K1 and then grade 2. As those assessments start changing for our kids as the year goes on, important that everyone recognizes where we are with it. Enrollment timelines, we've already kind of come and gone past the high school offer release and kindergarten GNT offer release. April 9th, which is just in a couple of days, middle school offers will be released. April 24th, summer rising results and waitlist will be available in my schools. May 13th, pre-K offer release, and Tuesday, May 20th, 3K offer release. We did have the District 25 Math Comics, Family Comics night that was held on March 12th, as we talked about during our last DLT meeting. This was a really nice event for our community. Big thanks to Melinda from our team, Principal Miller, AP Bryant, and AP DeLallo. We had a member from our central team there as well, and our kids had an opportunity to read and engage with some comics that are aligned with civic engagement and democracy. We know that our kids do enjoy reading graphic novels, so this was a good opportunity to learn through that on that day. District 25 Wellness Day. Big shout out to Diana from our team, Wing, Austin, and the rest of our district team, along with our CEC for this collaboration. It was a really, really nice event. We had about 100 or so folks, I would say, mixed in between staff members and families coming from the community. The one thing that I think that was pretty powerful about it were the volume of vendors. We had 30 plus vendors there to really be there to support physical wellness, mental wellness, SEL, nutrition. We had all of those bases that we're connected with, and it was due in large part to our collaboration with Common Point and the CEC. So big thanks to everyone for making this a success. The only part that was a little bit disappointing for me was the volume of people that said would attend and those that did. So I almost want to put a little bit of a little statement in future registration that if plans are going to change, that we at least let the district know, because we prevented others from having the opportunity in attending, and we cut the registration at 350 people. We had 350 people register, and far too few actually took advantage of it. And I do know that there were more that were interested that didn't get a chance to go. So almost putting a little disclaimer on there. If you do intend to, if something has changed and you can't attend, just please let us know, and then we'll send out another blast to get more people involved, because there were far too many vendors and resources there for the community not to have at their disposal. So that part of it was a little bit disappointing, but the event itself was terrific. So big shout out to everyone for that. We had our opening ceremony for Bocce this past week. Was really, really great. Unfortunately, I did have a meeting that I had to attend, so I could not go myself, but big thanks to all of our schools that are participating. We're at 25, 250, 185, 194, 219, and 379. The goal is to get as many of our schools involved in this as possible. Really promotes this space of kindness and inclusivity. We have the largest number of schools in the city that participate in this, and we're only one of 4 districts that engage our kids in this work. Really, really awesome experience for our learners. Big shout out to Diana from our team for helping our schools get organized around this. Looking forward to participating with our kids. when they have some future events and competitions moving forward. We also have our District 25 Cheer Expo is this week, provided that we do not get rained out, and I'm hoping we do not. It is scheduled for tomorrow. We do have a rain date, which I believe is Thursday, right, Louis? The rain date is Thursday. So cheer teams from across our district will be participating in this Cheer Expo. Last year was really, really great, and I'm hoping a similar type of turnout will be there. This is open to our families as well as our schools, coaches, district team members, and certainly our cheerleaders putting forth their best efforts. So really excited about that, and looking forward to a really great event. We also have, which I didn't put it on here, is our elementary school all-star game for our elementary basketball players. It's because we have so many teams, it's split up into two groups. We have the first group is on Wednesday and the next group is on Friday. So big shout out to those coaches and our teams and our schools for really, pushing forward with the importance of athletics inside of our buildings. We know that it is not just about academics. It's about creating opportunities for our kids to develop across a variety of different spaces. So really thankful that we're able to do that in our schools. Youth leadership team. Really excited about the work that this team has started to engage in. We have 10 students from across the district that have been participating thus far. They're coming together on a monthly basis. We have 2 teachers from MS 379 and Melinda from our district team, and Wing from our district social worker that participate on a monthly basis with our kids to really think about how do we improve upon the culture in our schools. So what this team has decided to do is work together to establish an event that targets all student council representatives from our middle schools to come together and connect in a series of team building exercises and motivational and 2 motivational speakers who former professional athletes to connect with our kids, who then are going to bring this work back to their schools and develop a plan of action to how they help support and build culture in their own buildings. I'm really excited about this, as the whole notion of it is to really promote student voice, an opportunity to improve the culture of their schools as students, not about us as adults, but them as kids. So they've set a tentative date for May 23rd for the student council representatives from each school, particularly our middle schools, to be invited to this event to serve as a springboard into future work, which one of the reasons I'm excited about this is it connects to our wellness collaborative with the CEC. The youth leadership team will be coming during our next month's CEC meeting to share a little bit about what they've been working on and how we can do this in a collaborative space. So really happy about that and looking forward to some great work moving forward. Project Soapbox continues to get lifted across our schools. We had 2 really great presenters during our CEC meeting Wednesday of last week. We had Ayla from 201 and Tristan from 201 share really passionate speeches around snow days, and the other one around lack of creativity in schools, and gave certainly a lot for the audience to ponder. So I appreciate both of them and their teachers for guiding them in their speeches. So moving on into our ELA initiative and the ELA sprint. Thus far, we have, this is a focus, as you guys know, for students in grades 3 to 5 across the city. We've also asked for our middle schools to participate in this as well. Thus far, we have almost 6,600 children across each of those grade bands who are participating in this. Last week, we had on average 74 minutes of time spent in the iReady platform with an average of 3.8 lessons completed for our students in this sprint for our elementary schoolers, with an average pass rate of 74% of lessons completed meaning that we were passing with at least a 70 or above, which is a good thing, is what the research says, is if our kids are passing with a 70 or greater on these lessons, that they're moving themselves in the right direction towards meeting standards. And similarly for our middle schools, albeit the percentage of the number of minutes is a little bit lower, our goal is to be between 30 and 50. Now, remember, some of our kids also do this at home, so that's why we might see a little bit of an elevated number of minutes. It's not differentiated between in school and at home. But on average, 49 minutes for our students in the middle school, with an average pass rate of an 81% of lessons being passed, which is a good thing for our kids at this time. Now, bringing us into setting the stage for DCEP, Gus is going to talk a little bit in a few minutes about timelines and tools that are available for our SLTs to be using. The one in particular here, and I'm going to just blow this up just really quick so that everyone can see the timeline. The release of the draft and the template and timeline for DCEPs was released in late March. April 4th, iPlan portal was closed to facilitate the transition from one year to the next. What all of our schools are going to be doing over this month is really engaging in this comprehensive needs assessment and root cause analysis space, where we're going to be looking at some of the types of things that we're going to actually look at today together. And that's how we currently performing. What does it mean for us moving forward? And how will it help us draft our next set of goals at the school and district level? So there's a couple of things that we're going to look at today in order to support that, with the goal of sharing our district goals, even though there'll still be room for making adjustments, within the next month or so, having a very solid set of goals for our schools to refer to when planning out their own. So schools are expected to develop these goals between April and May. And then in June for me to, June and July for me to review and certify the alignment of goals to budget. So there's a lot of work that our school leadership teams do need to do between now and June, so that our goals are ready to go for review and certification by myself, and then for final approval when the school year gets started thereafter. But this timeline is really, really important for our DLT members to certainly share with our schools and your respective schools, but also for ourselves to share more widely with parents and so on. And that's something that I can certainly do based on attendance from our SLT training. We can send out messages to all of our parents and staff members that were part of it to make sure that they are aware of this timeline as well. It's important that everyone's on the same page with this. We began this work with our principals during our last principals meeting. We will share some of these goals with our teachers to gather feedback from them as we get closer to a more revised set of goals, so that they're as tidy as possible, and then we can receive some feedback from the rest of the community on them. So something that I do want to start with, and I'm going to ask you guys just to take a few minutes on your own, just to review these next couple of slides, and then we're going to do a quick little round. So what you see here is a breakdown of our English language learners. And the reason why we're sharing this is because this population of our district is ever increasing. You know, we're at over 27% of our kids in the district, nearly closing in on 28% of our district are children that are English language learners. And you see the breakdown there from entering, emerging, transitioning, and expanding. And if you don't know what that means, those are the four particular groups that our L's can be in, with entering being the lowest level of English language proficiency, to expanding to be the highest level of English language proficiency, before eventually testing out and becoming proficient English language learner, no longer needing services as an English language learner, although former learners do get an additional amount of time to help sustain that space, which I think it's 2 years, right, Tracy? 2 years? 2 years of time that they receive after receiving those L services to sustain that level of proficiency. 56.5% of our Ls are Asian, 40% are Hispanic. 18.7% of our Ls have IEPs. Of those children, 46% are ICT, 41% are in special class. 20% of our E&L students are chronically out, and 34% of our Hispanic students and 29% of the 34% of the Hispanic students and 29.5% of the Asian students are Ls, overarching of the overall population, and 31.5% of IEP students are also Ls, which gives you a big picture of where we're at. Now, this next slide, I want you guys to kind of linger over just for a few minutes on your own, and kind of call out what it is that you see in just a space of reflection, what it's making you think as team members. Just take 2 minutes, look at the slides, and kind of reflect over what it is that it's saying to you. Okay, guys, what I'd like you to do just for a couple minutes, I want to put you guys into a brief breakout room. Just have a quick little chat about what it is that you see there, what it just makes you think, just in general about this small little data set. You know, it's nothing massive, but it should kind of result in some questions or wonderings or things that it's making you think about in this in regards to this particular subgroup of learners. Now, we're not going to stay in the rooms long, but I just want you guys to have a chance just to chat a little bit with one another about it. Just for 5 minutes, just quick rounds. Everyone have an opportunity to share out, and then we'll come back. Anything that you notice, anything that you wonder from this small little data set. Okay, I'm going to open up the rooms right now, and this will be primarily just for our team members.
salted butter,
Sorry,
Louis.
Catherine, we got sucked back to the main group. Anything that was that came up that in your other groups, I'd like us to also share out some of the things that were noticed in us. And Catherine, maybe you can kind of loop back into that because I think it's important part of the conversation too. Anything from either of the groups? Rob, I think you were in a different group than me, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I was with Umit and Eduardo and Eden. We were talking about, well, something that popped out to me is well, we're always looking at the L's of PS120. So I tried to shift my gaze a little bit more towards the children who were non-L's this time. And it's interesting to see 23% of those children are one grade level below, right? And what we can do to make sure that those kids, because it's not that it's an easy fix, but it's something that you could see if the right approach is taken to children who are one grade level below, you could see them succeed in a very short period of time. When you have children who are 3 grade levels below, especially children who have been here for a while, there's more work to do. Right? That's a complex issue that really needs a lot of brain power. But when you have 1 grade level below, I mean, they're close, right? So that's what we're doing with the sprinters. That's what we're doing, as the test approach. We want to see those children proficient and successful.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Anyone else from that group that would like to share? Then our group can also chime in. Yeah, Gus or Catherine, you want to share anything that came up from our group too?
Well, the ENLs are always a focus and a concern, and your chart well indicates that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Catherine.
So, and we also noticed that when you combine, when looking at the other 2 charts, not just the ENLs that we saw, we were at about 50% of students who were performing where they needed to be. And so what came into question then was, are we really meeting the students where they are, and what kind of additional flexibility maybe do we need to give to the teachers to allow them to deviate a little bit from some of the programs that they're using in order to really meet each student where they are on an individual level, rather than always rather than being too bound by the programs that are in place, giving them a little more room to be creative when they have to.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. I think it's an important thing for us to continue to linger over, as a district. And one of the parts around programs is often the ones that we encourage everyone to use. And this is something that we're also working on as a district to kind of really think about what intervention programs are we using, which of them are really serving as being impactful, really identifying and queuing in on them, and then establishing those sets of recommendations. Because what these research-based programs do say is that if we use them with the intent that they are designed, kids should be able to grow based on it. So that's part of what we are going to be examining as a district is the programs that we say that we're using. One, programs also come with like a set criteria that we have to use them with this frequency in order to see results. One, revisiting it. Are we actually using it with the intensity that it's supposed to be given? The dosage, the frequency, and the attention, so that we're meeting kids not only where they are, Catherine, but based on the dosage that's required in order to see an output. And I think that's something that we do have to, think quite a bit more on as we move forward. So I think it's a really important part of this equation is it's not just around the flexibility and being creative always. Sometimes it's also, did we deliver the intervention and support with the frequency and dosage that's needed in order to actually see a result? So that's part of the conversation that we do need to have moving forward. Any other quick comments before I show you the next slide and we take a look at that one too, because I think it's pretty telling also. Okay, so the next slide, I want everyone just to kind of check in on this because I think it's important, and it gives me space of encouragement around where we're going next. So before I flash it up, just a reminder for everyone: explicit instruction and the use of decodable text has been a focus of ours as a district, which means that our kids, because of that, should be able to grow in their ability to decode, and then moving towards that space of eventually being able to comprehend the text. So what you'll see here in this next slide that I'm going to show you is the performance. On the top, you'll see K to 2, and that's for Acadians. And what you'll see here is this first bar is the overall improvement in terms of reading. Now, this is just for our L's. The first set of bars is around improving their children that are on or above grade level from beginning of year to middle. Excuse me, from last year to this year. The second one is first sound fluency, which is really important in terms of phonemic awareness. This middle bar here is phoneme segmentation, also really, really important in terms of building those foundational reading skills. Nonsense word fluency, that's what you'll see, the NWF. There's two different parts of this, NWF and CLS, which is correct letter sounds and words, oh my goodness. Why am I drawing a blank on this? Oh my goodness, WWR. Why am I forgetting what the last bar? The word's correct. It's I'll get you the exact acronym, but it's also part of nonsense word fluency. I'm not sure why it's not ringing in my head right now. But from left to right, those are the areas that are assessed in Acadians. That's K to 2. And then the bottom, I already has
Dr.
whole words
Mike,
correct. Yeah.
whole words right.
Whole words right. Yeah. So the last part for iReady, the bottom part is for children in grades 3 to 8. These are also our L's. It's the one of the domains is around phonics. Another one is high frequency words, vocabulary, and then the last one is comprehension. But I want you to just take a look at these bars just for a moment, like we did with the last one. Reflect in that space. I'll put the timer on just for a couple of minutes. It's not an overly complex set of charts, but same type of thing. What is it that you're noticing in terms of how some of the work we're doing is impacting particularly our L's at this point?
Mike, this is cohort data, so this is the same kids?
This is just the L's.
Just
the L's. This is not a separation with the other groups. This is just the L's.
Okay.
And year over year, from last year at this time to this year at this time.
Sorry, so the light blue was last year and the dark blue was this year?
The light blue is this year.
Oh,
the
okay.
dark blue is last year. Okay, guys, we're gonna come back together again, and we're gonna hop into again quick breakout group. Just quick little chat. Hope you guys don't mind me doing this. I just feel like it's rather than just listening to me talk. I'd rather you guys have an opportunity to engage in some conversation. So, just for 5 minutes, some things that it's making you think or wonder, or questions that it raises for you, and then we'll come back together as a large group, and we'll begin talking about some of our goals that we have in mind for next year. Yeah, I agree with what you were about to say, Catherine, by the way. Okay, any comments? Any bigger comments that we want to share with the whole group that you've noticed?
I was just mentioning how like the Acadians data looks great. Like we're seeing a lot of growth, but then you scroll down to the iReady data, you're not seeing the vocabulary moving where we would like it to. That's for the same group. We have 17, 18% jumping in growth on iReady on Acadians, great. But is it translating to children actually reading and becoming better, more proficient readers who actually enjoy reading?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree
thanks,
with
Rob.
Rob. Yeah. The vocabulary jumped out at me that, that would the smallest percentage of all the percentages that you indicated.
Anyone else comments? I think it's that transfer from being able to decode, and then now it's about making meaning, right? So I'm able to decode the words. Seeing that in early childhood, there's improvement there. Obviously, a lot more work that we have to do, but we are seeing positive trends as compared to last year at this time, which is good. Um, Seeing it also in iReady in the kids' ability to decode when we're comparing across years, the 15% improvement from phonics levels from last year at this time to where we are now. High frequency words are improving from year over year. Now it's about that academic language and how are we building towards that as a district, and knowing that this is about accelerating outcomes for our ELs. We know that it does take time for kids to become proficient in the English language in general. I think we can all argue in some way, shape, or form where we are ourselves in the English language. It's not an easy language, but especially for kids that are now balancing that across two languages. And how do we help them, meet those gains, particularly with our kids that are coming here after grade 3, 4, 5, because that's when it gets a little bit harder. I think about even myself as someone who tried to learn Spanish. I mean, I held on to some words, but not necessarily in the way that I would have if I was fluent in English and Spanish at an earlier age, which is not necessarily the case for our kids. Some of them that they come here, later on, it's how do we build that foundation while also helping them, read with fluency. So, there's clearly a lot more work here, but what I'm encouraged by is that the things that we focused on, that explicit instruction and the use of decodables, seems to be translating into our kids' ability to decode words at a better level than last year. So that part of it is encouraging for me for sure. So where does it bring us? It brings us into a conversation around goal setting for next year. And I wanted to share my screen. I want everyone to just read through these two goals for priority one. And these have changed a bit with feedback from our principals. And this is still a very, very drafty, and this will go back to our principals for review and to our teachers for review. The first iteration was very, very wordy. So we took that feedback and we made some adjustments here to that wordiness and kind of pared it down a little bit. So there are two goals here. One is around specifically for our ELs, and the other one is around all of our kids in district. And I think it kind of still connects to both the codables and to explicit instruction. So let's take a minute and give it a quick read, and I'd love for us to come back together and have a quick chat around your thoughts. So I'll put the timer on just for a minute. And just note, everyone, as percentages may shift based on, what we learn at the end of the year with EOI and state assessment data, almost as a placeholder right now. So pay little less attention to the overall percentages and more to the context of what we're trying to get done with the goals. Okay, guys, we'll come back together real quick. Any comments, questions, wonderings about this particular goal? Alignment that you see towards promoting and pushing our work around ELA.
I think the first part of the goal is pretty aligned to stuff that we've been done in the past. I really like the second part of the goal, which really addresses how schools are programming their standalone minutes, because that's something I really that we enjoy doing, right? We like to be strategic. We like to be creative when programming how we service our Ls. And sometimes, the funding isn't always there, and sometimes we have to really be creative. So having that goal aligned with what schools are doing or should be doing seems to make sense to me.
Thanks for that, Rob.
Yeah.
Gus, any comments?
Yeah, I mean, Mike, you were absolutely right to highlight the percentages in the first goal, because you've got two different assessments. You've got an and or on Acadians and state assessments. So the percentage would vary according to the data coming out of each one of those. Now, I understand what you're doing because you've got interim assessments and then you've got the final assessment. But when you finalize the goal, a decision is probably going to have to be made in terms of how you frame those percentages.
Yeah, and I think it's subject, Gus, to and it might have to be like separate goals in the within the same priority, because K-2, obviously they're not taking any state exams, so they're really more aligned to Acadians than they would be a state assessment. It's also to kind of give a little bit of flexibility to schools to make their decisions around what's the end point, for them. So that we'll have to talk about as a DLT moving forward, with which one we want to, land on more specifically than another.
Yeah, and just to add on to what Gus was saying, yeah. So you for the first part of the goal, you said 10%. I believe it was a 10%. I'm assuming that's designed to close the gap, right? So we can't say 5% for everybody and then expect an achievement gap to close. You'd have to try to sprint a little further for those who are further behind, right? They have
Correct. Yeah. So it's
5%
all student subgroup. Remember that encompasses all groups. And then when you think about our targeted subgroups, usually it's less than in terms of overall population. It varies. So our Black population is less than 400 children in the district. So in other words, the numbers won't coincide. A 10% change for our Black learners is not the same as a 10% change for our Asian learners, which makes up 54%. It's just fewer children. The percentage and the ratio of that is the same, but it's not the same number of kids. So it's about making sure that we're able to close the gap between them, and that we'll have to dig a little bit more in terms of what those percentages will be moving forward for sure. But any other comment? Okay, I'm going to ask you guys to linger over this. We did change this a little bit. Priority 1 and 3 are now combined into priority 1. So that priority 3 can be really more about math. And priority 4, which is around college and career readiness, can be around getting the seal, the civic seal for civic readiness. By the time our kids leave the 8th grade, they can earn 1 credit towards the seal for civic readiness, which I think is really, really important. I'm sorry, guys, just hold on one second. I'm just getting a call from an assistant principal in the school. I want to make sure everything is okay. Okay, sorry about that. So at any rate, this goal was consolidated into one. What I'm going to do is, just for time's sake, I want to share the presentation in the chat. I'm going to ask you guys to go through the next set of goals on your own. And these are very, very rough, guys. I really do need your feedback here. And in fact, you'll see some question marks on some of the slides. And this is through slide 23 through 27. If everyone could just take a few minutes, and then we'll break up, rather than me reading each of these with you guys, I'd rather you take a little bit of an opportunity to review them. And then we'll come back together with any of your thoughts about things that we could add. Now, just so you know, priority 2 is around all students are physically and emotionally safe. Priority 3 is that all students, oh man, I mistitled that one. Priority 3 is around all students receive a high quality academic experience. And priority 4 is that all students graduate college and career ready. Priority 5 is around all districts and schools are more inclusive and responsive for parents and families. And the last one's not listed as a priority, but it is a goal that we have to have around chronic absenteeism. So if you can just take the next 5 minutes or so, just give a quick review of those goals, I would appreciate it. And then we'll come back together to have a quick chat around anything that is making you wonder or notice about them, things that you think we should include. That would be great to gather some of your perspectives on any of them. So I just put the timer on for 5 minutes. If you just take a few minutes to review it on your own, that would be great.
Excuse me, Dr. Mike.
Yep.
I just joined. Is this something that you have put in the chat, or was it an attachment to an email?
It should be I'll put it in the chat again. You might have joined just as I put it into the chat, Rachel.
Okay.
Just put it there again. It's just the presentation for today.
Yep, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, you got it. And welcome. Okay, folks. Gonna come back together. Any comments on the second goal there, which is around creating that that safe environment for our kids, supported by social emotional, making sure that all physically and emotionally safe. Any comments? And just to give you a little bit more context, and we're going to do this more in depth. Really, just wanted to linger over the first priority with you guys in terms of that, looking at that data space. But what you'll see here for our kids, and the reason why we kind of lingered over the Mind Up program, is that we do have quite a few kids that are unsure as to whether or not the Mind Up program is having an impact on them, and the idea of the brain breaks, the lessons, and are they supporting their ability to make better choices? And what we've seen in the survey data that's come back from our kids is that that doesn't necessarily tell the story. So we do need to revisit that. And what we've learned from our classroom visits is that sometimes it's not always being connected to as the way that it should. So, but any comments? I saw Sharnette, I saw your hand raised.
Hi. So you said half of what I was going to say. That's why I was like, lower my hand, lower my hand. Morning, everyone. So, as a parent first, to look above and look down on it. When we have our kids come home and having gone through this elementary school, different versions of this through the years, I think it's a matter of, because you're dealing with a room of, let's say, 30 kids, 30 different personalities, but your curriculum is the same that you're teaching. And to have a mind break where a kid might be happy with a fidget, like, I'm just making stuff up. One kid wants to just doodle, another one wants a fidget spinner, another one wants to just tap on the desk, and you're giving them the brain break based on what we're using our keys and standards to judge the reaction expected of these kids, and it's asking so much of them at this growing stage of their brain as it is on their own, that we're not connecting with them. Like I say, when you want to talk to a child, kneel down and talk to them face to face. Don't stand above them. So, or when they used to have that thing with the wall and remove the wall or the different ladders. These exercises, I think, become exercise in a tediousness for them. And it becomes like, just give you what you want so we could move on back to the lesson. And then it's not a good gauge to then say, I'm gonna learn better and be more relaxed in class, because you just made me miserable. I want to just doodle on the page, and now you tell me to stop and breathe or sigh or whatever it is, when that doesn't work for me when I'm home with mommy or dad or whatever. What works for me is to, hit my brother or whatever. I'm making stuff up. So we're putting standards. I always say to people, did you ask the user what works for them? And reverse engineer the survey or the brain activity that you want the child to go through. What if you have, and survey the kids, what works for you to learn better? And they say, I draw balloons. Then a group of 5 of them will say, I draw balloons. Then you have those 5 people draw balloons. And then that will be more calming for them. But you're forcing me to draw squiggly lines. And squiggly lines irritate me, but I can't say anything because I'm at school and I have to respect my teachers and just draw these squiggly lines. And then I have to go learn something, So
Yeah, I think there
a
is
struggle.
there's clarity from kids that not all of them like the idea of having to close their eyes or engage in a brain break in that way. So there is some variation in terms of movement breaks versus, what quote unquote brain break, where you're doing the deep breathing. But I think there's also something to making sure that kids, even when you don't like something, there is an approach that you have to learn how to take as a student so that you respect the other child next to you that does want to engage in that brain break.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a balance between that we still have to work on and through. That if today is a brain break, tomorrow is a movement break, because you can't do them simultaneously,
No, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That we learn as students that I might not necessarily love that, but you have the option to sit quietly and wait until that brain break is done so that your peers that are engaged do have that opportunity as well. I think the variation needs to happen so that we're keeping kids
Yes.
all connected throughout the day.
Yes.
But I think that there's that level of understanding and self-awareness that we also need to promote amongst our kids, is that there are going to be times when you don't necessarily like something. Doesn't mean that it's time for you to chit chat and impact your peers. And I think the same too is for adults, that if we value it, we have to show our kids that we value it so that it's not looked at as, all right, well,
Yeah.
when we have the brain break, I can chat too. And then guess what happens to the rest of the kids? Brain break doesn't happen, which is what we wind up hearing when we interview children. So part of my school visits are around interviewing kids, and this is always a question that I ask because I'm intrigued. If we're going to all focus on a program implementation, then we have to know whether or not that program is being received the way that we're hoping.
From the user's
And what
point
you
of
see
view.
here is pretty much the reality. You have some kids that love it, some kids unsure, and some kids hate it.
Yeah.
So we run the gamut of that. But yeah, thank you, Shanette. I agree
Yeah.
with you. Catherine.
So, oh gosh, how do I get this hand down? Okay. Okay, you would think after all these years, it's just so much easier, and it's not. So I can see, like, even in my own kids, how some of the brain break stuff works and some of it doesn't, right? We're all individuals. There's going to be different strategies that apply better to some of us than others. But I think overall, like the social emotional aspect of getting the kids to kind of find a place and a time to release, you know, lunch and recess, right? Like that's their time. And I think that some schools are better at letting the kids have that as their time than other schools. I think that when we are sitting down and asking them to, I look, they got to eat, right? Less talking, more eating, but also that's their time to talk. Like that's their time to chat with their friends. It's not really always their time to chat with their friends in the classroom. Or if it's indoor recess, like why are we being asked to sit and be quiet and watch a movie? Because, again, that's their time. That's their time to be connecting with their peers. And maybe some of them do want to watch the movie, but maybe some of them don't want to watch the movie. And every school has a bit of a different way of running that situation for whatever their circumstances are, the type of supervision that they have at the time and everything else. But I think that if we are able to respect that as their time more, I think a lot more connection between the kids, and they'll get a lot of that energy out that gets, it overflows into the classroom sometimes when they don't get a chance to connect during that time of the day.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and I think can also be part of recommendations that we establish, right? As a DLT for SLTs to think about in terms of how are we making sure that we're building in that SEL space. And what does that mean inside of these opportunities when kids have recess or they have lunch? I think sometimes too, what children look at recess as is free reign to do all things and anything that they want, absent the guise of being safe. Because when there are not rules, what we also wind up seeing are some of those behaviors that result in either a child getting hurt because there's a little bit more aggressiveness that tends to happen, especially when it comes to play. So one of the things that Diana has done, particularly with our school aides and with our teachers, is to really work on what does productive play look like during recess time. so that so that our kids do have that opportunity to have a little bit of a release, but also doing it responsibly, because we oftentimes where the occurrences happen most, in our schools, if we look at the breakdown the occurrence reports from buildings, where accidents tend to happen most is at recess and lunch. And on the other side of it, we wind up getting families that get very upset that their child was hurt because they were being a little bit too, let's say, happy during the during their recess time, and it creates a little bit of a struggle, because on one hand, yes, we want to give them that time, and on the other, it's how do we make sure that they're doing what's right and they don't hurt their peers or themselves when it's sprint time on the asphalt, and suddenly scraped knees, necks, everything else, and the child comes home all bruised and bandaged. That's also the concern that we have too. But I think your point is one that is well taken. How do we make sure that we're in an agreed space as an SLT around how do we want that to look for our schools? And each school does it, like you said, does handle that differently. But I think it should be part of a school conversation around how we organize for it, for sure. Go ahead, Monique.
Thank you, Dr. Mike. So just to piggyback off Ms. St. Pierre, I do agree that, students, that is their free time, their only time during the day. I feel that more could be done, but I feel that there's not enough support staff in the cafeteria to allow that to be done. So the hiring, and because I'm a DC 37 rep, I also worked in a building as a parent coordinator for 14 years, is that there needs to be more adult to student ratio so that those things are possible. One of the concerns from school aides themselves is they feel that there aren't enough adults with the children during lunch and recess. And so therefore, most of the time it is a rushing situation. They have a certain amount of time to eat and they want to make sure they get out to play. And then it's the transitioning these large groups of students from inside to outside, from outside to inside, that takes away some of their time. But I also want to state a solution or just an idea of when they do come back from lunch, they do have all this energy. And that might be a time when they return back to the classroom, whatever class they go to, whether that's with their main teacher or if you're in a middle school, your next class is to maybe implement the mind up to kind of recenter them so that they can focus on the rest of the day. Because the cafeteria itself, if you have a child that's sensitive to a lot of noise, a lot of activity that might be triggering for them, and maybe they can't get back to focus. So maybe utilizing the mind up or that situation when they return back to the classroom after lunch to kind of give them that opportunity to talk to a friend, to do the mind up, to kind of like say to students, hey, how was your lunch? Or let's talk about it, or have a conversation with your friend, or, just to encourage those things so that way you can get back to the focus at hand, which is the academics. But that's just a suggestion. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Monique. And it's interesting you say that. Many of our schools, it's become a routine where teachers, as the kids are coming back, will engage them in a brain break. They do that after physical education as well, to find those spaces to give them that little cool down. And I think this kind of to Shanette's point is, how do we make sure that we're balancing between some of the approaches? Because not all kids do come back and feel like they want to be able to close their eyes. It doesn't do it for them. So there's a few things that we need to work on, and what you'll see in the goal was around this mindful moments, which is about, and these conversation starters, where it's about connecting kids and having them have conversations with one another about who they are, about what they like. There are a whole bunch of different prompts that the program offers, but we don't necessarily take advantage enough of, which is kind of one of the other elements of the goal, aside from just the brain breaks. It's about making sure that kids have that opportunity to connect in other ways and help build some of those relationships too. So there's a lot here that we need to work on. We'll linger around more in the next coming in the coming months around the CEP organization, and I'll share more of this data with you. But I think there are a number of things that are preventing the program itself from taking full root in our schools that we need to really work through a little bit more, moving forward and using the elements that the program does have to promote that space of self-awareness and regulation. Because listen, they're also 5 and 6. And when they get to older, being 12 and 13, there are certain things that we need to connect differently with to make sure that they are good and safe in their space. So more to follow on this. But Lamar, last word, and I think we'll probably wrap up this call because we're not going to get finished with the other 3, and we'll revisit those during the next DLT because I know Gus still has to speak and we have to get through all of our constituents. So Lamar, have the final word on this one.
Sure. It's just something to add on for us to consider, and I don't think there's an answer for it, but it does factor into the space that children have, let's say, during recess. I want to touch on Christina's point. Some students may not want to engage in a certain activity during recess. They want to play. They don't want to. On a day like today, when everyone is going to be inside and you have upwards of, depending on the size of your building, upwards of 100 students, the spacing can be an issue too, right? We can't just take 20 children and put them in this space and 30 children and put them in that space. Your gym can only hold but so many, even with proper staffing. Your gym can only hold but so many. Your auditorium can hold but so many. And if I had a nickel for every time a kid told me, Mr. Hughes, I don't want to watch so-and-so movie again. We've watched it for the past 2 or 3 weeks. Respectable, understandable. I don't think there's an answer for it, but I think we do have to take into consideration some buildings don't have the physical space to give children that space to be off in one area if they don't want to engage or if they want to be by themselves. Sometimes, the spacing is just not available. There's no answer, but I think that should be kind of included somehow just to gain an understanding, have a bigger understanding of the situation and the spectrum of it.
Yeah, and I think that some schools have become very creative, Lamar, and created like lunch club opportunities where there's this space of self-selection, and but that's not everywhere, right? That's in spaces where they're able to do it and they have some additional flexibility. Where they do have opportunities for kids and they're connecting with some of their teachers or what have you in different ways. Again, built into their program appropriately, but it's not everywhere. That's where it can happen where there's a little bit more flexibility in schedule. But on a whole, I think that it's how do we really look at this time and build it out as one. And I know we're talking about lunch and recess because typically that's where these activities happen. But I think in the larger scope of how are we making sure that we're creating good, effective social emotional learning opportunities for our kids is the bigger question. They tend to have a lot of those release scenarios tend to happen when they get to release. Lunch, recess, gym, are usually the biggest spaces for incidents to occur. But for me, the goal is around helping kids help them learn how to manage themselves. What allows me to get into that space of learning and readiness. And it will be different from child to child. There's no doubt about that. Some kids, sitting down for a period of time, they just can't do that. And keeping their eyes closed or breathing deeply, that's a struggle for them. We have to recognize that too and come up with alternative approaches for children that do have that scenario. But at the same time, making sure that they understand that there is a respectful space that has to be valued for their peers that do really value that time. And if you're going to giggle and laugh while someone else is trying to engage in that we have to be able to promote that space of self-awareness also. So more to follow on the other 3 goals. I do ask you to reflect on them. We'll have a more formalized view of those other 3 next month when we come together, and hopefully by the end of next month's session, we'll be able to really solidify all of our goals that can be shared with our building leaders to reflect on, as that's what we will be doing too. So any other quick comments on the goals to this point? I know just 1 and 2 was reviewed, and I appreciate your feedback on both of them. They was very helpful.
Mike, on goal 3,
Yeah.
I know, which is career development, if I remember correctly.
That's high quality academic experience. That's
Okay,
the
then
math goal.
four, career. You might
Yep.
consider broadening it a bit because it's only soapbox focused. So you might consider some additional technology or science, items added to it.
Thank you, Gus. I also included in there Safe for College. We'll talk a little bit more about that next time. But our percentage of families that take advantage of Safe for College is not very high at all. We're below 40% of our families that take advantage of that initial savings account opportunity for our kids. And I think we should be able to take more advantage of that, really promote that space for our families. It might sound like a little thing now, but over time, if SLTs and school communities, you can even do events that the proceeds can actually go right into kids' accounts. It's a nice savings opportunity for our families. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I'll give you guys some percentages. That's why I put it in there as a question mark, because I think it's worth us exploring. And there's always that space for STEM, but I do think that the civic readiness is something that connects in a lot of spaces and promotes that opportunity for voice while also getting kids prepared for high school and beyond. By creating a place where they can receive credit by the time they get into high school. So that's the reason that was there, and we'll talk more about that during our next meeting. But Gus, I'm going to turn this over to you to share a little bit about your work. Otherwise, we're not going to approach that 11 o'clock mark at all.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn it over to you, Gus.
I'll try to be brief. Let me share. Okay, Louis, can you share
I got
for
you,
me?
Gus.
Because it, huh?
You can share.
Okay. Okay, can you see my screen?
It's coming up slowly, but it's coming.
Oh,
Okay.
got
We're
a
on
lot
your
of
desktop,
files.
Gus.
Okay. Can you see this CP?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. First of all, you should know that all of your CEPs and the DCEP are now online. You cannot see them at the moment because, and I'm not going to go over the timeline because Mike went over it already, but iPlan was closed on April 4th. The reason why they closed down iPlan is they are transferring the pre-populated stuff from last year to this year's template, assuming that all of the categories are there and the same. And it will open again by the 21st. So you can't see anything right now, but when iPlan opens again, everything should be there. Now, I'm not going to go over the whole CEP. Most of it's the same. They added some items to the signature pages and so on. Let me see if I can go to page 14. That's where the only really significant page is. Let me see. Try dragging it. It's in the progress monitoring section. Okay, that's page 7. That's 13. Okay. Now you see in implementation monitoring, it says that indicate your primary structures, and it says note, implementation progress checks will be conducted in progress monitoring tool in the iPlan portal for this academic year. So there are two things I want to mention here. The Word document that schools now have access to is just for planning purposes. They should not submit or their new CEP using the Word document, as in the past. So remind principals that that is not, it's just for planning purposes until iPlan opens again later on this month, and they'll work on the regular document. Now, the reason for this box here and the change is they've reduced the progress monitoring section, the implementation section, from the last year's template, and everyone is using the tool. Now, the tool is a separate section. Now, some of you might recall that there was a discussion about implementation as opposed to progress monitoring. In other words, what you're doing is you're checking to see whether your action plan is being effective as opposed to the instructional progress being made, although the two are intimately connected. So you don't have the new version of the tool, but I was part of discussions, and what they've done is they've tinkered with the progress monitoring tool to make that clearer for schools and principals. So that whole issue, the feedback that went back to Central about some confusion out there between implementation monitoring and progress monitoring based on assessments was heard, and that's why they made that change to the template. And so they've reduced the section on in the actual for each priority, and enhanced and tinkered with the progress monitoring tool. So that's the only really significant change, it seems to me, other than adding, as I've told you, now the PAC individuals are mandated, and hopefully we'll see A655 to be able to see that in writing, because that's now supposed to be embedded in the revision of the A655 regulations on SLTs and DLTs. Now, the other item that I'm just going to quickly mention is you have some tools that are useful for assessment, progress monitoring, developing goals, etc. This one here, and you all have them, and they should be shared with the schools and the SLTs. They were developed by Central. And this one here is an overview of doing the needs assessment. And what's useful is in all of these tools, there are these links. You see these blue underlines here. That will, so it's not just the information that's in these documents. There are links to additional resources in these documents as well. So I encourage SLTs and schools in general to utilize these materials and use the links. And a lot of all of this resides always on the resource section of the iPlan portal. So you also have another way of getting at that information as well. So that's the stop. I'm going to stop sharing. Those are the quickly overviews that I have. The other item, which I repeat at every single DLT in Queens North, and is an ongoing issue, is putting in the monthly information from the SLT meetings and the PAC meetings, which is again a separate section. The whole city is behind. Queens North is behind. I'm going to send out an additional report probably next week to all of my superintendents, so you could see who's behind and who's not behind. But I just want to highlight one thing, and I'm mentioning this especially because Rob is here, and he was on the receiving end in the past from state education. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's not enough just to put the material in. One of the things that state ed is very keen on is proving to them and having them see in a very apparent way that parental involvement and parental engagement, particularly for things like the parent policy and developing of goals, etc., is explicit in the minutes. So I know that schools are putting minutes in, but be thoughtful, look at those minutes, make sure that if state ed starts spot checking, which is what they did in the past, and I had to go back to Rob and ask him to look at aspects, and it's not only his school, they just spot checked a bunch of schools, and then revise things and send it in. They are going to do this again to us. So being aware of that, please emphasize to all schools that when they do their minutes and when they do their agenda items, and if they have any handouts, particularly handouts that are related to parents and parent engagement, make sure that they're in the I-plan and being dropped in, because that is one thing that I know the state ed folks are going to be checking on us in relation to. And I don't want to I want to minimize having to go back to anyone and asking them for additional information. So that's basically all I have to say. Any questions or comments? And I appreciate all of your hard work and support.
All right, thank you so much, Gus. I appreciate it. And, this is something that we will continue to convey during our principals conferences, AP conferences, and conference calls, just to make sure that we consistently stay on the ball. It's as you're talking to us about what's in I-plan. I just reviewed the first 4 schools down the list just to make sure that quick spot check, and from that first 4, all 4 of them have up-to-date uploads. So we'll continue to review it and make sure that all of our schools are in that space, because it is important that it's accessible to our SLT members, but also to our community. So,
and Mike,
more to follow.
I think you sent out an email about the citywide conference. Just to remind everybody, encourage our DLT members to attend, and I'm sure, as in the past, we'll have a good representation there.
Yeah, and the citywide conference is April 26th, folks. I'm hoping that you will all be there. I will be there. Mr. Sarin will be there. Hoping as many of our DLT members as possible can be there as well. I will follow up with the time and location. Did they give the location, Gus?
Yes, it's a high school in Manhattan. I don't have it here in front of me.
So I'll share all of that information with everyone just to make sure that you do have it. It would be great if we have our DLT present and accounted for. So I'm hoping to see all of you guys there at that time. I will share that information with you in a follow-up email. But yes, that is April 26th. It's a Saturday, April 26th, for all SLTs and all DLTs across the city. We'll be there to kind of go through what is now the shaping of work for next year. So thank you for that, Gus. Eduardo, high school superintendent's report.
Yes, so we had our youth empowerment conference last Friday at Queens College. We're still gathering all the media because we had student photographers and videographers, but I do have a short video clip I would like to share. One moment, let me share it right here. Share with sound. Here we go. And it should be this one, screen 4. Can everybody see the screen?
Yep.
Good morning. What does the Youth Empowerment Conference mean to you?
The Youth Empowerment Conference means to me is the idea that all teens get to kind of just come together and talk about the future, because we are the future. And I don't know, I just think that it's really important that all of us, like Queens North in general, all of the schools, that we get to kind of just meet. And yeah, we get to have fun, we get to talk about the future and power and all that. So yeah.
Okay, that probably was not the correct frame rate. We just got a new camera. I'm learning it, but I'm sure correct it before we post it on our website. So I have to sharpen my skills on DaVinci Resolve. But so we'll be sharing all this on our website. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eduardo. CSA, Mr. Marino.
Hey, everybody. I sound like a one-trick pony every month, but we're desperately waiting for our small class size reduction applications to come through so we could start programming. I know it's like April, so someone may think that we don't really do the work yet for the following year, but usually I have it all wrapped up almost by now. And furthermore, CSA is monitoring very closely the I don't know what you would call it, but the conversations coming out of Washington and DC about the $2 billion they may hold from us, and how that would affect our schools. And we're keeping that in mind too. That is a doomsday scenario that we would lose Title I and Title III, and then all of our CEP goals would be even more challenging when we talk about programming students. But we're paying close attention to all that stuff so that we could act accordingly. Yeah, that.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, as soon as I do hear an update on the class size applications, I'll be sure to share. Certainly with our principals, but everyone here as DLT members. We'll talk about that. Hopefully, have a much clearer insight into those application requests by our next DLT. That is what I'm hopeful for, and I'll get back to you guys on that for sure. And in terms of the things that very well be coming out of Washington, we'll see what winds up happening as time moves forward, and the impact that they may have on us. That I don't have a crystal ball on that. I'm hoping that it will be not be something that does impact our schools the way that it could, provided that kind of funding is removed from our system. So we'll have to kind of play a wait and see on that a little bit, and hopefully we're on the right side of it and not the wrong side when it comes to funding release and such. Where am I? You have a comment on that, Shernette?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll lower my hand. So the rumblings where we were told end of March we're gonna get this funding, blah blah blah, and then it actually came out in the newspaper implying that it happened. So the understanding is if we're moving forward to be doing our CEP for 25 to 26, and programming has to start, and hiring is now open, you're starting to do your hiring halls for teachers. It's a rock and a rock, not even a rock and a hard place situation where parents, us at SLTs, we're saying we did all this work in December to put in requests for teachers and blah, blah, blah to meet those class size initiatives. How then do they expect us to plan if the rock, which is the money, to then go hire the rock that are the teachers? You can't go, and then it's like business as usual. The hiring halls are still taking place at the standard dates, like tomorrow. I know a couple of districts are having some this week and next week. How then do you fit the square peg in the round hole? I know I'm talking crazy, but it's like
No, you're not talking crazy at all.
My
I think
brain is like blown by this madness.
yeah. So yeah, go ahead, Rob.
I would just say, like, the way we always do this job, because there's always challenges that come up. There's always something in the wind that funding's gonna get pulled away, or it's gonna come, or we're gonna have to do without something that we had in the past. It's just that we plan for the best. Until the world ends, we will operate as if it is on.
Well, yeah. Listen, I think
I don't like that part.
I think
we plan as if we are going to get the funding.
All of our schools, they can have things that they anticipate, and then when budgets are released, which is towards the end of May, beginning of June, is when those things become realized. So anything that they even offer at a fair is typically a space of understanding that those are tentative. So schools produce tentative programs because there's a reality that there may be things that change, in terms of the volume of staff that you can bring in, who may be coming, who may be going. A lot of those things typically are tentative anyhow because budgets aren't released until that time, which is why they don't get to then approve anything. I don't get to approve anything until July in terms of the alignment. So in most cases, when you start, while there's an opportunity for folks to put things into, to open market and things of that nature, the hiring for that doesn't happen until, those budgets are released for all schools. So It's about getting ready for that anticipation for and preparedness. And unfortunately, whether building leaders love it or hate it, they often have plan A, B, C, D that they're ready for in the event that and that happens every year, whether there is, whether the money looks great or the money doesn't look so great. They're always ready with multiple schedules, multiple things in mind in the event of. So that does happen. It's often very trying. This case a little bit different because there's a lot of unknown inside of what it means just yet.
Because they claim it's not your budget, it's, class size money running alongside the monies. So, it's like a bait and switch situation where we are given this hope that this guaranteed money sits outside of your budget money that usually goes, yeah, I'm not sure you're getting it, not sure you're getting, but you're getting this money and it's locked in. So go ahead and go and get your teachers. So the hoopla has gotten really quiet now. The fanfares died down. You're like, wait a minute. Is this separate money? Is it commingled money? Why can't we just go and take this bucket of millions of dollars and go hire teachers? Oh, wait, it didn't get released. It's kind of tied running alongside the NYC DOE budget. And it's like a line, or is it not? I had a couple of principals saying, I don't know what you're talking about, Shernet. We haven't seen any money. I'm like, what are you talking about? They said the money got released. Like, no, it's not. We're looking for it. We don't see it. So we're not going to program. So, because we don't know.
So yeah, but that's the Shernet, one of the things that I will tell you that I would do anyway. I personally, I get prepared for whatever it is that may be coming to me. The potential
when
because
principals are telling us they're not going to program.
they might, but I can tell you our folks here are going to be prepared. That's
Yeah.
just because that's who they are.
Yeah,
they're
I
going to be
appreciate
prepared.
that. Like
Yeah.
you have no idea.
Yeah,
These
no, they're going to be
different-
prepared because that's
But
just who
yeah,
they are
I
as
understand.
leaders. But does it make it more difficult? Sure.
Well, Robert put it
Yeah.
really well. It says till the world ends. We're gonna
Well,
see
let's
that
hope not.
both.
Let's hope not.
But thank you. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. So a lot more on that for sure. And we'll see what happens moving forward. But we are certainly aware of it. We continue to look at it, and as more information is available, we will share it for sure. Who was I on? Was on Rob Lamar.
Sorry.
You're good.
So what to say, much to do. Along the lines of the federal funding piece, on the UFT end, we're watching this very closely. We're monitoring next steps. And I think a lot of what we're doing now is centering on getting the members involved and getting the community involved. So I'm going to put a date on everyone's head and everyone's calendar, May 6th. It's a Tuesday. We're rallying outside of our Queens office. If you know where we are, we're on Queens Boulevard and Union Turnpike, what used to be the old Con Edison building on the corner. We're going to be outside of the Queens courthouses, getting together, getting people aware of what's going on with Tier 6 and what's going on with federal funding, and making sure that, our members and our parents and community are all aware and on the same page of how detrimental this could be as a district. I'm hoping, I feel like we're all understanding of what the ramifications could be, but we also really want to get involved in spreading the word and making sure that everyone who has a vested interest in children and everyone who has a vested interest in education, takes part in, sounding the alarm and making sure we know what's going on. I want to shift a little bit. We're also working with, we still have the initiative with our paraprofessionals and making sure that the city council votes to provide a signing bonus. I'm going to call it a signing bonus, an annual bonus. It's not an increase in pay. It's not a salary increase. It's a bonus, an annual bonus of $10,000 a year. Because as you know, as well as I do, as a starting salary as a para, to make what that starting salary is and to live a life in New York is a bit much to ask. It's needle in a haystack. It's it's a lot to deal with. So we're working with city council in that regards. And we're going to be spreading the word in our school buildings as well, making sure that parents are aware of the work that paraprofessionals do, how important they are in D75 settings and ICT settings and self-contained settings, and those that sector of our workforce who work, intimately with your children, with students, are in a space where their pay should reflect the work that they put in. So we've got a lot going on in that regards. But May 6th is a day I want to put on your radar. And if there's any support you can lend to that day, to coming down and spending time with us down by the courthouses on Queens Boulevard, we'd appreciate that.
Okay, thanks, Lamar, for that. Monique.
Hi, okay, I put in the chat that the Office of Food and Nutrition has revamped their hiring halls. They do have a Google form where anyone who is interested in coming to the hiring hall, which will be Saturday, April 19th at PS 209. They're trying to bring in community members, families, parents, grandparents, anyone you know who wants to work for the Office of School Foods and Nutrition in District 25. They're doing it district-wide. So please, any parent leaders that are on today, download the form, share it at your PTA meetings or any events where you see parents, share with your own family and get the word out. It's a great opportunity, especially for those parents who are looking for a part-time position and want summers off, want to be able to pick their children up from school. It's a great opportunity to earn a little bit of extra money. Also, you're in the pension. You're also provided with the TDA, so and health insurance, medical coverage. So you get all the full-time benefits for part-time employees. What newly came down at my meeting at the Education and Libraries Division of DC 37 is that we've been informed that when we visit schools, as you know, I've been visiting schools in the district, all my districts, is that we can no longer be signed in by a school aide. So if there is a school aide at your desk covering, the local 372 president has made it very clear to the Office of Labor Relations, to the head of DYCD, that our school aides, our DC 37 members should not be manning the front desk for any reason. We understand there's a shortage, but our people are not trained to be there. So therefore, if I come into your building and you have a school aide at your desk, I am being told I must ask for an administrator to sign me in. So it's just letting you all know in advance. And also, as Lamar had noted, what UFT is taking on, with what's coming down the pike, DC 37 and AFSCME, we're getting ready as well. Our marketing campaign is to get organized. We are signing up as many members as we can so that we become union strong. And DC 37 will also be having some political action meetings themselves. They have their own department. And so those meetings will be monthly and coming up. And I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks so much, Monique. We're gonna move on to I'm gonna move on to Eden first from CEC, and then Shanette, I'll come back to President's Council only because Eden has to hop off. So I'm gonna pop it over to Eden, and then we'll move on with the President's Council reports.
No problem. Thanks for the adjustment. Good morning, everyone. So just a couple of updates. Our CEC elections are actually going to be opening very soon. So just reminding people to share out to schools, have parent corners share that out. If you know anyone that's got kids in the District 25 area, make sure they're voting, everything like that. Our next two meetings are May 7th as well as June 11th, but June 11th is going to be our award ceremony that we do every year. We will be letting everyone know about what school, and we're starting to get ready to send out for nominations to the principals, as well as planning all the features there. The other piece that I wanted to just mention is a little bit of what Dr. Mike was talking about with the leadership program with those students is also we are working very closely with Dr. Mike on a pilot program on the wellness initiative. And so we're really looking forward to having these leadership kids come in and see how they can kind of collaborate with us as well. So that's the update from CEC.
Thanks so much, Eden. I appreciate it. Shanette, we'll move over to you for the Queens President's Council High School report.
Hi, okay, so it was quite a busy last March into April. And the highlight of, and if I could share with you guys, we did our college fair last Thursday at Richmond Hill High School, and partnered with the borough president, and we had approximately, still counting, 480 families in attendance. And I just want to show you guys some highlights. It was from 6 through 8, and we had schools like Boston. I called every school myself. I have no shame. I dragged people to show up because we're realizing, for me personally as a 9th grader, going to college fairs, going to, out of state, it's becoming harder. So I came up with the idea, and I don't know if I mentioned it, to have these schools come to us outside of your typical SUNY and CUNY schools. So we had Syracuse, UConn, Boston, Cooper Union, the Army, the Navy. We had an info session with a college essay writer, a MIT admissions counselor, seeing what they look for. We had higher education of New York talking about scholarships. So we had info sessions alternating in between the fair. So this was at 7:30, and yeah, we couldn't get them out. So let me see if I could do that. This was the crowd at 7:30. Yeah, there's no volume, but this was at 7:30 and it was still packed. So, and then we had a surprise visit from our borough president. He stopped in. So that was really exciting and fun. And he was like, what? And he stood online. So, and the line was down the road. And we were like surprised. He was like, he couldn't believe the crowd. So I wanted to say, the encouragement. We had 8th graders and 7th graders show up with their families, which was really good. And they were like, next time I'm going to bring paper. So, we have to start early, like you're talking about some of the priorities of college readiness for the kids to have that experience of, you don't need to wait to 11th grade and 12th grade to look at schools. And it was so heartwarming. And we had student volunteers come, and every child that came got community service awards. We got a nice printout from the borough president, 4 hours that they can use towards their bank for community services. So that was really good. So now we're gonna it was 40 schools, and we only had 3 no-shows: Seton Hall, Stony Brook, and I think US Navy. We figured it was the rain and the distance Thursday night, so we forgave them. So we're gonna have to go bigger, find a bigger space, because we turned down schools like Hofstra and Pace because it was first come, first serve. NYU was there, it was really nice. We're having our meeting tonight, and we're gonna have a college specialist who reviews applications to talk about things that matter when you're applying for school, that he looks for when he submits names to the admissions folks at MIT. And we're gonna have also on hand, what is her name? Victoria Garvey. She's the Director of Planning and Development with the Queensborough President's Office. They're going to start a program about engaging students in land use in their neighborhood, teaching them about the importance of preserving the earth, I guess, and launching that program, and all about applying to US universities. And we're going to be spotlighting 2 districts, Consortium of International Outward Bound Schools and the transfer schools, Dr. Cheng and Superintendent Sullivan, and District 79, which is alternative schools. And we're going to be doing an info session on April 30th in regards to helping kids getting ready to start doing the application process once it opens up in the summer. And that's it. And then we're winding down, and it's been a very impactful year, learning so much. So I thank you guys for part of my education process. And as was mentioned earlier, we did our CEC for City Council High Schools. We had 64 candidates. It was a long night. So for elections, so we'll see how things shake out. And we can only hope that we have more parents stepping up, because it's thinning out a lot. So And I don't have any other report because this meeting is before all of our other meetings.
Yeah, no,
and everything else.
thank you, Sharnette. And I think that
You're welcome.
what a great opportunity you guys provided for your students and families with that type of a college fair. I think
Yeah.
those experiences are invaluable, and even getting our kids to campuses, I think, is a huge thing.
Yeah.
It's funny, we bring our elementary and middle schoolers to high schools when we do the just our sporting events, and they walk in and they're just
And they're all
marveled
like
around
this.
around the experience. It starts building that idea of what's next for them, and I think it's important that you guys were able to do that. And
Yeah.
just judging by the volume of families that you had, clearly it's something that resonated with them
Yeah.
across across Queens. So
Yeah.
that's a great job. And if there's any time and space where you feel like we can connect on that, and certainly in
I
D25
think
with
we
the K to
should.
8,
Yeah.
I'd love
We
to do
should.
that. I think that's a great opportunity.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So more
Okay,
on that, and when you're starting to think about putting something together like that again, I'd be happy to be involved for sure.
Well, because of the fact that we turned on schools like Peace, because we only had 40 tables, we weren't expecting this turnout. I mean, people were taking Ubers, like all demographics showed up. We had
Yeah.
kids from Bronx Science, Manhattan School, Staten Island. There were a couple from Staten Island, a lot of Brooklyn, because of the schools that we had there. Because who
Yeah.
has time to go to UConn?
Yeah, we're certainly willing, and I'm sure one of our schools wouldn't even mind hosting, and you
I
have
am
plenty of
going to come talk
classrooms.
to you.
Yeah.
I need a big auditorium and a big
Yeah.
gym because
Yeah, I'm sure
Richmond Hill
we can work on
maxed out
something
at
like that. I think
40.
it's a nice opportunity for our schools, and some of our schools are right on the Queens College campus too, which
Yeah.
would make the experience of being connected to that a little bit different too. Yeah, so as
We're
you
planning for
start organizing, let me
October.
know.
No, I'm telling you, we're planning for October because it would tie into early action. So the kids get a chance to see the schools before they put in their
Yeah.
application. We're timing it to then do a fair to help you with your decision, because a lot of the people that came, excluding NYU and UConn and Boston University, these were actual admissions counselors.
Yeah, I love that.
Look at application, and I was like so pleased. I'm like, they're like, yes, we came because you bullied us. You
Well,
pick
listen,
up the
bully away. You got
phone.
them there, right?
No, because it
Bully
makes a
away then. If
difference
that's the perspective, then sure. Yes, you did.
when you pick up the phone versus emailing.
Yeah.
The response makes a big difference, and I called every single school.
Yeah.
So it was a
Love
good.
it.
Like, we will talk. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Rachel, you got it. Rachel, anything for President's Council?
Yes, in March, we also had our successful CEC candidate forum. We had over 30 applicants, but only about 12 showed up to the forum. So we were able to add another closing statement because time allowed. Our next meeting is the Monday after the break, the 21st, and we will be having a representative from the Office of Language Access. And then also just providing more support to our PTA presidents about coming into election season, about having already formed their nomination committees and how to handle their elections, reminders such as, no hybrid meetings for elections. It must be online or in person. It cannot be hybrid, things such as that. So just providing our constituents support in that area. And that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. And guys, just to kind of put it on everyone's mind, the June meeting, I would like to have that one in person. We kind of added that into, I think we even put it into the bylaws as that we would do it this year in particular, to get a couple of in-person meetings. So the June meeting, just to put yourselves, put that your mind's eye on that, get it into the calendar. I'd like to have everyone together for the June meeting if possible.
Where will that
Obviously,
be?
we'll have hybrid access to it for those that are unable, but we'd love everyone to be there if you could.
Where?
It's going to be here at Linden Place. Here at Linden Place, yeah.
Oh, that's where our office is.
Yeah, here at Linden
Okay.
Place. But our next meeting is May 7th. If anyone does anyone have any other business that they'd like to discuss before we come to consensus on a close?
Hi, Dr. Mike. I just wanted to
Hi.
make a suggestion to you. I know
Sure.
you're looking for community programs. So there's a big program called I Will Graduate. I'm not sure if you've heard about it. It's a youth development program. Their email address is iwillgraduateprogram.com. It encompasses community activism. It's a K-12 program. So if you visit.
What is it? What does it entail?
So
Monique?
it's dedicated to serving and empowering students, families, and the community by communicating the importance, and I'm reading off their website. I have very bad connection, but they basically work with schools and they come in and they promote, hold on, empowering the students and inspiring the future, the importance of educational excellence. They accomplish their goals through youth development programs, art and education college, and career guidance, mentoring, parent engagement, school and community workshops, and exciting events. I know they came to my son's high school once. And when he was there, they do big school assemblies. They get everyone ready. I don't know what the K program looks like, but if it's something, I know our district, we're mostly K-8. And so that might be an organization that could appeal to.
Are they a vendor, Monique?
I believe they are a DOE vendor. I
Okay.
believe they are, because they're in a lot of New York City public schools.
Okay,
And
cool.
they're stationed in Brooklyn, but they do come out to Queens schools.
I know folks don't like to come all the way over
Mhm.
here.
No, but they do. They do. I know.
There's
It's
something about where we are
parking.
in Queens that it's like, oh, that looks a little bit too far for me.
Yes, I
We'll
know.
pass on that
I
one,
don't
but
know. And we feel the same way about the other boroughs.
I know it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
Especially when
Yeah.
they mention Staten Island, like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
that's a long one. That's a
Yes,
long one.
I'm
Yeah, I
lucky
get it.
enough. I'm not the rep that has Staten Island. Thank goodness. Not
I
yet,
tell you
anyway.
what, when I was a network leader, I had schools by the Outer Bridge Crossing. I was like, oh my Lord Almighty.
Oh my
That
gosh.
was a trek out all
Yes,
the way
it
out to
definitely
exit
is.
50. It was like on the expressway. It was a brutal time for me. But anyway, guys, any other new business? Thank you for that. That's a really really good thing for us to look into. All right, guys, consensus on bringing the meeting to a close. Thumbs. All right, perfect, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and we'll work on building those goals out a little bit more and look at goals 3, 4, 5 during the next session.
Mike,
Thank
can
you.
you hang
Have a
back
good
just
night.
2 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Have a good one, everyone.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good
Happy
one. Have a
holidays.
great week
Have a
off.
good day.
Yes, happy holidays, guys.